Alright, so we've said that customer service is really one of the key areas that we want to continue to focus on. And there was a great article, Carrie Mulvey brought this in, and I think you'll all have a copy of this. It's the last word, and it was out of the September issue of Realtor Magazine. And it kind of follows up on some of the themes we've been talking about. We've been talking about Disney and their customer service platform. Remember how we were talking about they identified frustrations that people had, and it didn't matter whether or not Disney felt they had caused it or not. They wanted to solve those problems. And I think we addressed that and we talk about that a little bit. And the article kind of hit some of the themes that we've been talking about. Setting proper expectations, making sure that you do the things that you say you're going to do, showing up on time, all the little things that I know we all know. And, I think when you really step back from it and say, how do those things go wrong? Most of it's organization. Most of it's, we get busy, we have a lot of things going on, and can you meet all those things and work with a high volume of clients and manage all the things you got going on in your life? But I think we're all getting really good at those things, and we're going to just keep getting better at them, and, I have no concerns that we're going to end up on the right side of where we need to be on the service side. There were two really cool things that I thought the article brought up. Number one, it asked the questions in the third paragraph. It asks, do you subscribe to the belief that customers are always right? And it goes on to say, the person being interviewed says, no, I don't subscribe to that. In fact, I think that's wrong. But I do agree that you always have to leave the customer with a sense of dignity in whatever communication you have with them. And that you have to view the customer that way, that they always must maintain their dignity. And I think that's really important. No matter what you believe, you might believe that the customer is always right. It's a philosophical way that people approach things. USAA approaches it that way. They absolutely believe that the customer is always right. That's at the core of how they believe. And you might say that's silly, but then look at the loyalty that their customer base has. They absolutely, you've worked with, I know, USAA customers who absolutely believe and are just absolutely sold into that program, and they believe that they're going to get taken care of. So USAA does something right on that level. You don't have to believe this, you just have to understand it. You have to understand that that's how they believe, and if your belief is any different than that, then you have to be very careful with how you tread. You always have to leave that customer with a sense of dignity. I've seen it. I get some of the feedback from customers that I think, I can't believe we have to even answer this question, but we do. And we should. And we have to be bigger emotionally than our customers are. And, if we treat it like a business and we set our egos aside and we just handle it and treat people with dignity, we're always going to end up on the right side of things. The other thing that the article brings up in the last paragraph, in the fourth one on the right there, it talks about every once in a while you get to the point where expectations are so far apart that you need to fire a client. I want to be really clear about that one. I think that's wrong, and from my perspective, I don't care what USAA or NFCU or ExxonMobil or anybody else thinks. I don't think we ever fire a client. I understand that, and this is the way I view it, I think those words are personal. And I ran into a situation that was really terribly unfortunate, where an agent was doing the right thing, setting the right expectations, but used those unfortunate words about, I can fire you and you can fire me. And that rubbed the client the wrong way. And the client was a very difficult person. But those are the wrong words. They're personal. And, you're talking about firing you. You're talking about the word fire. It's just not a good word. And we talked about that situation a lot, and we came up with a much better way to approach it. If you set expectations up front, and then you enter into a contract, whether you're representing somebody as a buyer or a seller, you are in a contract with that person. And if you ever get to the point where you feel that this just isn't going to work, we're not able to work together, I ask two things. I ask that, number one, before having that conversation, you always talk with your branch leader and get their advice, give them an opportunity maybe to put somebody else into the transaction if they feel that maybe that would work, or at least be a partner with everybody that's in this business before we get to that kind of spot. The second thing I would say is point to that contract. The contract is not personal. In the contract, there are mutual expectations. You're expected as a seller of the home to market it correctly, to get it into the proper showing shape, to follow up on all the people that come through there, and they as a seller are expected to follow some of your advice, whether it be about pricing or what constitutes it being in the right showing shape. And you can easily point at a contract and say, you know what, I don't think that together we're mutually meeting what we said we would do in the contract, and it may be better at this time if we both found different directions to go. And that's just a much better word than fire. And I bring it up not because I think it's some foreign thing. I know it gets said, and don't say it. I guess it's that easy. Just don't say it. Beyond that, I would just read this article. I think it's a very good article. And then come back and think, what do we really need to do? I think we know how to provide the customer service. We're that good. I think the next step is, how do we make sure that we're always measured that way? Those surveys aren't really intuitive, and you got to remember that. You got to always show them that survey up front. That's number one. Number two, you got to remind them about it during the time that you're providing the service. Number three, you have to specifically ask people when you have done a good job for them, hey, there's a question, it's question number 4 on this survey. Question number 8 asked the question about me, but question number 4 is my rating. And if I did a good job for you, I really need you to do that for me. And I know that it's uncomfortable to some extent, but we have to do it. That survey isn't going to change anytime soon, and I've seen it a bunch of times this summer where they said we did a great job, they wrote great comments about us, but something went wrong somewhere, and on number 4 they didn't mark us as excellent. And that's just, I mean, that's excruciating to me, to think that we could possibly not get platinum because we just didn't tell them about it. So I just ask you all to really think about that, think about the importance of it. If it's a little uncomfortable, practice it in the mirror, step in front of a video camera. It's not as easy as you think. Do whatever you need to do to make sure that you're comfortable and that you do that religiously. Remember that we're going to send you something on RealSpec that asks you to make that phone call. If you don't want to make a phone call to that person a week later after they've closed, I've seen plenty of agents who are writing great emails and saying, hey, I hope everything's going really well at the house, and checking in with them, asking for referrals at that time, and then just reminding them, you know what, that survey is going to come in a couple weeks, and I just want to remind you how important that survey is to me. And I think we're going to get great returns by doing that, and the people that enjoyed our service are going to send more of the surveys in, and if we do that, then the occasional one that's just a tough person that we're not going to be able to figure out, it isn't going to hurt us as bad.